All right, the next big concept is really diving into your source material. So if you're a producer, that means you probably got sent a song, maybe you have the stems, and now it's your job to make it better, right? Make it more interesting, fix it up. If you're a musician and you're working on the compositional side of things and you're starting to write the song, then you're building this stuff into it. So either way, you should be thinking about this stuff. It's just how much you can change throughout the process. Now, how complex is the tune or chord progression? That's the first thing you want to hear. So listen to the song a whole bunch of times, internalize it. We're going to take you through some exercises in all three of the next sections of how to analyze chord structure, how to analyze function, how to dictate rhythm, and really get into that stuff so your ears are going to start working for you as well. And you'll have more information. But if you're a musician, you're probably writing the chord progression yourself. If you're a producer, maybe they've sent that along, and maybe you have MIDI stuff so you can actually just look at the chords there. Either way, understanding the chord structure, and if the chord structure is really simple, and it doesn't move around a lot, well, that can get really boring. And so that's when you want to add some elements, right? The next question you want to ask is how much space is there, especially in the vocal part, but in general. And anytime there's space, well, that's an opportunity to either let the space be there. It's really nice to just let space be space, let it be simple. But also, of course, in my world, that means that's an opportunity to make something happen. And that's going to be a theme throughout this entire series where you're going to hear examples where the vocal sings something and then there's a bunch of space. And the vocal sings something and there's a bunch of space. And all of these really cool things happen in those spaces. As composers and producers, we often try to fill everything with lyrics. We try to make things move really, really fast and don't let people get bored. But in the compositional process and at the beginning of producing a song, actually building in that space is really important. If you're going to want to add something like horn section or strings. Space is actually our friend because it gives us so much opportunity to do some really cool stuff that those other producers aren't going to be able to do because they've overwritten their song and there's too much going on already, even in just, the vocal. So how much space is there and how complex is the chord progression? If the chord progression is complex, then it's fun because you can actually accentuate what's already happening. But otherwise, if it's boring, if it's the same couple chords the whole time, that's when you really got to dig in. The next thing, if it's simple, do you want to keep it that way or add? If it's complex, do you want the instrumental to be simple? So, there's both versions of this. If it's a simple song, maybe you keep the instrumental super simple. Maybe you just have a little trumpet line that pops in and it's one single line, no harmonies. It's just a little counter melody. Simple, that works. Complex, that works too. If there's a lot going on, you have this really crazy, string line or something like that, that works. But then also doing the opposite is sometimes really nice. So if it's a simple song, you have some like complex harmonies in the strings, right? If it's a complex song, then sometimes just having a single note, having just a single hit, just a little, a little spice here and there, keeping the horns simple or keeping the strings simple, having those play off of each other. Again, these are artistic decisions. You can make any of those decisions, but just like the last section, knowing what you're going for is most of the battle here. And of course, you can play around with each of these, but knowing those concepts gets you on the right path to be like, okay, let's try something simple because the tune is really complex. So let's pull it back. It doesn't have to be so crazy. Knowing that that's an option and that actually, matches the style in a really cool way is helpful. So source material, dive into it, listen to it so much, internalize it, know the chord progression, know where the space is, and then when it comes time to write, you'll know exactly what you're trying to do.